Oh.
Mm-mm.
No.
Mm-mm. 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 Stop touching things. Stop touching things.
Oh, I didn't pick up the camera because the camera was turned off before
sorry.
you.
Oh, no, I took off for bar.
You're good.
Do I
Just
do
hit
this?
hit the properties button.
Properties. Stop touching things.
No.
And then just click something else and then click the camera again.
Yeah.
And then just flip it on the thing. The little flippy icon. The Uno reverse.
The Uno reverse? Where's the Uno reverse?
It's like midway up. Up one more. Up one more.
This one?
This
one?
That one. Yep.
You zoomed in
And
on
then
us.
One of these days we'll like start, normally and not have issues and just
One of these days I'll
We
teach them
should-
all how to use the camera
Yeah.
and how to use OBS. Whee! Wow!
way out of focus.
Oh, there's a button for that.
Focus sauce.
Sorry. Loud phone.
There we go.
It's the blue one.
The blue one.
The blue one.
The only blue button. So that one I actually probably could have just said that, but it's fine.
It's my kid's favorite word lately. Blue.
Blue.
Blue. Or wheel.
Nice.
Wheel.
Nice. All right. Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. So.
Sorry, I have my drink and it's noisy because there's
It's
ice in
okay.
it.
We all have drinks today. I did not go there.
I did.
It's okay.
I did not go there either.
I can only go there when I'm down here, so that's why I went.
I got brought one yesterday.
Nice. Well, welcome.
Welcome all.
We're going to talk about working moms.
Working motherhood.
Yes.
But first, parenting story of the week. I've gone first
Ooh.
twice in a row, so someone else needs to go first.
I can tell y'all that my child has, my uterus has decided to give me Braxton Hicks now.
Yeah.
I now can actually notice them because they say that you should be able to feel them by they technically start around 16 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I don't remember. I didn't feel anything, and now more recently I'm like, okay, that's happening. That for sure is a feeling. I've got that.
It's like your belly's giving you a hug in the most awful of places.
It just honestly for me feels more like
Tightening.
like a tight, slightly painful period cramp. Super bad, but more of those something period cramps where you're just I don't really want to bend down right now. I don't want to. I just want to I can stand up, I can do my shit, I can sit down and I can do my shit, but I cannot do extra stuff in the middle of this cramp.
Yeah, that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of the very lucky few that never get period cramps, so being pregnant and getting Braxton Hicks for the first time was a brand new experience for me.
Welcome to the party.
I was like,
just the party you want to join.
How dare other people have to deal with this?
Yeah.
I felt so grateful in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Your turn.
Oh, my turn. I don't know what my story is this week. I don't know.
Talk about the one that just happened outside.
Oh yeah, my kid figured out how to do snow angels. We
Oh,
finally have
cute.
snow,
Yeah.
and it's finally warm enough to play in the snow. So we have discovered snow angels and throwing snowballs at things. Yeah.
I swear when I walked up, I thought that I saw Nick get a snowball. I was like, he's going to throw that at me.
Well, he was gonna hand it to Naruto and then have Naruto throw it, but then he threw it on the ground and stomped on it and said, "Stomp, stomp," and then grabbed his stick back.
Well, good for Naruto.
And then he tried to throw his own snow at you, so...
That's true, he did.
But it kind of got stuck to his hand.
That's true. It is very true. Here's one. I love Bluey. My kids watch Bluey. They love it.
It's a good show.
You know the episode where they play Wind Up Bingo?
Yes.
And my kids have seen this hundreds of times. Well, this one particular time on Wednesday,
Yeah.
Deku was watching, saw Wind Up Bingo, then came up to me and Tyler, backed up into us, and wanted us to wind him up. So we wound him up, and he started doing the do. This kid has seen this episode hundreds of times, and this one time...
He's like, I want to be wound up.
I want to be wound up, and it was so cute. And he does it all the time now.
Oh my god.
It's adorable. So, one good thing out of my not Kachan being a butt. He's still being a butt, but one good
a good story.
A good story, yes.
Yeah.
What animes are you guys watching?
I attempted to watch new episodes of my animes, but fell asleep 5 minutes in, and then woke up in the last 5 seconds, and I'm like, what is happening? So that's my current anime situation. Yes.
I thought about watching anime again, and then was mentally drained and was like, I cannot do subtitles right now, but I also didn't really want to have to sit and find another anime. At that moment, I was like, mentally no.
Was in English, so it was dubbed, not subbed. So it should have been fine. No.
See, like, I
passed out almost instantly.
I've been thinking recently, like, oh yeah, like I could just, since my mental capacity hasn't been there, let me just like find dubbed anime. But then it's like the process of finding the anime that also was mentally draining.
Watch Delicious.
I know, I got
Black Butler.
Just gotta get it, log in, and do it.
Delicious in Dungeon is on Netflix. You could just watch that.
My Netflix is through another house, and it won't let me watch it at my house anymore because Netflix is stupid. Oh, but the Funimation is getting closed or being transferred completely to Crunchyroll in April. Yeah. It's the same password and stuff. It's just on Crunchyroll.
Which, I mean, at that point, I have Crunchyroll.
Well, there you go.
It shouldn't matter
so
too
you should watch it there.
Well, isn't it? But, like, I feel like the whole thing with Funimation and Crunchyroll has already been, like, it happened once before.
It started, and there's some issues with it, I've heard.
Yeah, because, like, there was one point where I was like, Crunchyroll was like, oh, Funimation's joining. And then Funimation, like, happened to be there for, like, 2 seconds. And then, oh, Funimation's gone. And then it's gone. And then now, like, it sounds like they're doing it again.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, I don't know. It's confusing. And I had somebody on my timeline post about it, about how they're not honoring some different memberships, but honoring some. I don't know the whole ins and outs of it.
It's there, but...
There was, like, one thing that, like, when I...
But it doesn't have all the seasons. That's stupid.
Yeah, see, that was the thing. Like, it had, like, one, like, movie thing.
It has one season. Technically, there's two. No, three. 3 seasons. So, watch them on Funimation.
But then I, like, was also, like, thinking about, like, just picking up that Apothecary one that you were talking about.
I have yet to
because that one just looks like
it's
fun.
It's so good and funny, and I love it.
I am scared to start any other shows until I finish the shows that I am watching because of the fact that I'm falling asleep. I'm rewatching episodes, so why should I start another one until I'm But I will eventually watch
Apothecaries, yes. Oh my goodness, I love that so
There's shows that Zach and I started watching that I really want to keep. I want to go back and watch, but he's just not been wanting to like sit on the couch and watch anything. And that's been really difficult.
Come on, Zach.
Because like this is not anime related, but we started watching the Percy Jackson series, and we haven't watched the most recent 4 episodes because he hasn't wanted to come sit down on the couch and watch them. He's wanted to watch something else.
You should just watch it without him. Be like, Zach, I'm watching this. Do you want to join me or not?
Yeah. I mean, thankfully, like, I can, if I watch one of his favorite Minecraft YouTubers, I can get him to come over to the couch.
Start that way. Turn it on, and then as soon as he sits down, change it. Zach,
like, hey,
if you're listening, we are not plotting against you.
I was. What are you talking about?
He probably just has us on in the background. And is focused on his Minecraft because he's currently playing around with like bees in Minecraft. So bees. Every time it's like the bees, I just think of that Cards Against Humanity card. Bees. Anyway, so yeah. He was very excited to show me his bee helmet earlier today.
There's a bee helmet
in one of the mod packs he has. Yeah,
oh my
it has
God.
like a bunch of different like bee types too, because there was one like yesterday I knew he was gonna have to have something else to do while we watched this super long like childbirth class. And so he was playing Minecraft, and I look over at his like his second screen where he's playing Minecraft, and I'm like, why do the blocks in the corner of your screen look like they're vibrating? And he's like, oh, those are all just bees. And I was like, excuse me? Because like it was like in an inventory, so like he would open up the inventory and like it was just like a bunch of different kinds of bees. They just look like, because they're all square in Minecraft, I was like, they look like regular blocks, but they're vibrating. So it was a whole thing. It was kind of funny.
Vibrating blocks.
He's like, what do you mean vibrating?
That's just bees.
I think you guys will be surprised I did not watch anime this week.
Ooh. Whoa.
I did not get around to it. I finished another book.
Ooh,
I don't recommend it.
Which one did you read?
It was that blue one called Starbringer.
Oh.
It's like a space kind of thing.
A space thing?
Yeah, like sci-fi.
Okay.
It was okay, but it's one of those ones that has like multiple POVs of like 4 different characters. And it's fine. And I'm a smut reader. And I bought it because it was supposedly smut. And you know, fantasy is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But this was definitely like written by a high schooler. And the smut was there, but it was like the lead up was good, but I did not.
But then the actual situation was not well written.
Like
it wasn't written at all. That's what sucked.
It was just
like
all lead
no.
up
So
for
this
you?
is what it was. So they were like, do all the foreplay and all that stuff, and then it was like, then it went in, and then we fell asleep. There was no detail of like anything of the during period.
And you're like,
and
what
I'm
is
like,
this?
And it was
This
the end
is
of the
not what I
chapter, and they
signed up
moved
for.
on. There was no discussion about anything else after. Nothing.
That was it.
That was it.
That was it. That's
No,
all you got.
disappointing.
I was like,
That's all she wrote.
That's at that point, like you're
I'm
writing
sorry.
for high schoolers.
It was.
Like
There are non-smut books that have more detail than that.
exactly. Okay, like
There are
if
books
it
where you're
was
just like, I'm reading this for the story. Oh, that happened. But there's more detail.
it was like one of those ones where like there was so many things they tried to shove into this plot.
That it just kind of fell apart.
It fell apart. Like,
Okay.
oh, well, this person's this cousin. This person has this magic power. Like, it was so many things shoved into it. It's like the author threw in a bunch of stuff, had, like, sprinkled some mediocre smut on it, and then it ended abruptly on, like, a cliffhanger. And I'm like, I don't want the second one.
no.
I, like, powered through to be done, and I'm like, I regret purchasing this.
See, like it's not very often that I would put down a book, but that would be one that I think I would put down.
Here's how much I hated this book. I would prefer to reread ACOTAR than read that book.
But you liked ACOTAR.
Like, okay.
But you'd rather
struggled
reread the entire series. Okay.
Yes. I like the ACOTAR series, but like compared to like Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, I liked that writing better than ACOTAR, where I had to like kind of like push through some of it, like the mental, like that mental stuff. I would rather force myself to read it again and push through all those mental, like what's going on in their heads kind of writing than reread this book. Or ever read it again. Or just ever pick it up and decide that this was a good purchase to do.
That sounds like, I mean, okay, it's not the same because this happened when I was like a child, but like I read like the first like 2 chapters, I think, of the Lemony Snicket series, and I hated it so much that I was like, I refuse to read any more of this.
See, I started those, and I didn't mind them, but I never finished it.
Everybody was like, oh, the Lemony Snicket series, and I was like, no.
My sister read those.
It could not grab my attention in the first 2 chapters of the first book, so I don't know anything about any of the other books.
You know,
Are you drawing a Minecraft
I
bee
am.
right now?
Today's episode is now called Bees.
Bees? I didn't know what to doodle, and then she kept talking about bees. It's another bug. Still got
Rip Toad Babe.
I was still, like, proud of myself, because I've read 4 books this year, which is more than I've read in a decade.
Hey, that's some good work.
I'm quite proud of myself, because when we were in middle school and high school, I have really bad dyslexia, so it takes me ages to read, and was extremely discouraged to do so. But now that I'm an adult, I do love fantasy books. I love it, and now that I can read people having sex about, in them, why not?
I'm
She
just
wants
watching
to steal
the
my
cat.
stuff.
Yeah. So, I have much more incentive to read now.
Well, and it's just like, it's sometimes like one of the things I really like about reading is that even if like an author describes something one way, because it's all in your head that you're reading it, like you can picture it any which way you want. So like when it comes to like movies and TV shows, when they like adapt things and you're like, this is atrocious, like my brain thought of the Twilight series in a totally different way than how it was made into a movie, and I like my brain's version better. So
I don't know if you guys do this, but I always place myself as the main character.
See,
or
this is
whoever's
why
reading.
I know a lot of people get weirded out by like the age gap books where it's like the character's 18 and he's like 500, and I'm just sitting there like,
But
I
he's
think
a fae.
I think the reason that I don't get as bothered by it is because even if I know the character is technically 18, like Akatar, you know?
Yes.
In the beginning of the series, she's 18. I mentally picture them as my age, whether I try to or not, and I think that's why it doesn't bother me as much. Because, like, instead of me thinking, oh, they're 18, I'm like, oh, they're 30. That ain't nothing.
I feel like that I even did kind of that thing when I was younger. Like, I started reading smut books in high school. And,
Stacey.
like, there'd be people who were probably, like, you know, I was, like, 16 and people were probably, I don't know, probably 30 in the book. But, like, for me, they just felt like a slightly older version of me.
Right.
Like, old enough to be legal, you know, I guess.
Yeah,
is really what it came down to. So, like, it never felt that weird, I guess.
I think that's why I didn't like this book as much, because although I put myself in one of the POVs, I still hated it. I still hated it. It was still like she was a whiny little bitch. And I'm like, and I think that's why I liked Iron Flame and Fourth Wing so much, because I identified with the main character so much.
Yeah.
I was like, that would be me. But
Yeah.
should we get into it?
I think so, yes.
All right, we're going to be talking about working moms, even though one of us is not working.
Well, you did. So you have a
did.
point of view on it because you did work at one point.
I think, if there's no objections, I think it would be cool if Caitlin went first because she's pregnant.
And working.
And working. That would be good. And then we can talk about our experiences about pregnant and working, and then now having kids. And then I think that would be good.
I
Let
like
it
it.
go.
I'm actually working right now.
I'm just doodling. My bees.
I'm just sitting here.
Yes.
Doing nothing.
Existence.
Gotta know.
I mean, technically we are all kind of working. I mean, we're not getting paid for this.
No.
But it is still kind of work in a way.
Yeah. There's effort being put in.
There's effort being put in. You have a job.
I do.
An unpaid job, but it's a job.
I have fun. It gets me out of the house.
Yes.
And it makes me happy. So.
Yeah, I would say when it comes to working while pregnant, I will say I think a lot of the people that I've worked with have done a really great job being really accommodating for, you know, things that I you know, obviously, like, as I get bigger, it's a lot more of a struggle since I work with animals to get down on the floor with big dogs. But, like, you know, people, you know, people have offered to help me stand up a couple times, which
beautiful.
is great.
You are lucky.
We did not get that. Unless it was for each other.
Yeah.
Which in hindsight was probably a bad idea.
But it was that or nothing.
I will say I wish, since I do see my own schedule of patients, I wish some people would pay a little bit more attention to what they're scheduling. Because I have had days where it's all big dogs, and that means being all up and down from the floor the entire day, which is exhausting. Or there are times when people will schedule pets that are way more aggressive than I should probably be dealing with, even if I'm not the actual person is like restraining them.
Still.
Like, I had a patient one day who's known for needing sedation medication for nail trims, didn't come in on the sedation medication too. But even with sedation meds, he still flails and screams and does like a whole bunch of those things. And even if I'm not the one holding, if I'm the one grabbing his feet to trim his toes,
he can still kick you pretty hard.
Kick me. So, like,
side note,
yeah,
if your pet needs sedation meds for the vet, we're not doing it for fun. We're doing it because we're getting hurt. Yeah. And if we're getting hurt, your pet can get hurt. So please listen to us. We're trying to help everyone.
Well, and honestly, at that point, it's not even always about us getting hurt. Yeah. Like, you know, it's animal
also
can
unsafe
get hurt
for
too.
them. Yeah, exactly.
Especially if you put extra restraint on them.
Or they can just hurt themselves just trying to, you know, just flailing.
And stressing out. The normal, like, stress hormones and stuff that go through their body.
I have, there's a patient that I saw the other day for an anal gland expression she's not particularly mean in that she wasn't trying to bite, but she's so anxious that she was flailing, like, her whole body. Even, like, me just approaching her to put a stethoscope in even her, like, just her personal bubble. It wasn't even touching her yet. But me going close enough, she was, like, backing up and, like, throwing her body everywhere. Yeah. And I was like, this is not healthy for her to be this anxious. Now, granted, I guess they had tried
example of an anxious child that needs sedation.
Yep.
She goes in only when necessary.
And I mean, like, that patient, they had tried a sedative medication before, but the owner at home felt like it wasn't doing much. So they hadn't done anything this day. And I told the mom, I was like, listen, I'm not your doctor, but you might want to talk with your doctor about, like,
a different
medication. Different medication, or maybe it needs a higher dose. Like, you know, there's such a big dosing range on some of those sedative medications.
And we usually start on the lower end, just so we have that wiggle room. You don't want to over-sedate, but you also want to have wiggle room to go upwards. You want to have space
to move. Yeah. And I mean, again,
it's all trial and error.
Sometimes, too, just like with, like, anxiety medication, a particular medication does not work for that pet. It just doesn't. They either become excitatory and go the opposite direction of where we want them, or it just doesn't seem to touch them.
Oh, fluoxetine and Rocco?
Yeah.
He gets angry. Like, it pisses him off. Like, the most common anxiety. Oh my gosh, he was a terrible cat.
There was one cat that I saw not too long ago that the owner said the last time that they had even tried gabapentin, which is very common sedative medication for cats.
Nitro's had
when they put the cat on gabapentin, even at home before coming to the appointment, the cat started getting really aggressive with them and was, like, trying to bite them at home. And I was like, okay, so that's not an option for your pet. But ultimately, that might mean, because there's not as many, like, sedative options for cats as there is for dogs. I was like, ultimately, that might mean that your cat needs to come in, get injectable sedation to do shit. Like, that just might have to be what happens.
This little peanut. I've tried gabapentin. It didn't do anything.
Custer's were getting really close to being like that, too. I feel that.
And I will say, all three of my cats, none of them are particularly mean in that, like, they don't really try to bite, but they get so stressed out being at the vet that actually giving them sedative medication before makes them more comfortable. Are they ultimately still comfortable? Probably not.
But more comfortable than they could
comfortable.
be. Yeah, I know. She goes in with GABA, and only if there's a dental involved to do everything possible.
Custer's the same.
Yeah. But the last time we had to do, like, pre-med 3 times just to get her to a point where she was workable. Because she fought it off so many times. And that's with GABA involved. And it's not out of, like, anger. It's out of stress. Because, you know, she's open mouth breathing on the car ride home because she's just that stressed out. I don't know.
The last time Custer had to go in for his, like, dental stuff, I wasn't working.
Oh, no.
They couldn't get him to DKT. No one could get him out. Guess who called me? Stieber called me. She's like, are you available? I'm like, why? Come stab your cat in the ass so that we can do his dental. I'm like, gotcha. It's like, because we've tried, and I know you don't care how you grab him. Just come in here to stab his booty. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
The only other time I didn't give him GABA was when he had to have his enema and stuff because he was so lethargic and so not himself that I wanted Bakken to see it.
How she was at.
Exactly. I wanted to see how he was without the GABA. And he was pretty, like, he was still pissed about being there, but he was clearly not feeling well because he was letting her touch him and move him around and stuff.
And that's bad.
Turns out he was super constipated, that it was pushing up on his spine.
Ouchie.
Yeah, it was like a nice kink. I thought his tail was broken.
Yeah, if you ever have someone in veterinary medicine saying that your pet needs medication for visits, it's needed.
We're not saying it for fun.
And generally, like, if we can have pets
or
come
for
in,
the money.
No,
definitely
nobody's
not
in it for the money.
Most sedative medication is not that expensive comparatively to other medications they could have to be on. So
yeah, we don't get paid.
Most people work. There's a lot of people I know who work multiple jobs and vet med, and they do vet med out of love for the field and not because of money.
That's why
all
there's
their
such
jobs,
a high turnover rate.
Yeah, the other jobs are just for the fact that they need to pay their bills.
One of my veterinary assistants the other day was just telling me that if it was just about the money for her, she could go back to being a waitress at the restaurant that she was at before, and she would make a lot more than what she does now. She's in the field because she wants to be there. So,
and that's pretty much everybody you're going to come across.
That's the sole reason why I'm going back when I go back.
Yeah, it's like, the people that are there want to be there. I know vet care is expensive, but vet care is expensive because the medications and the equipment are expensive, also, not because they pay us very well.
No.
If you look at the same cost of the same surgery between human med and vet med, the cost for vet med is drastically lower than the cost for human med. It's just we have health insurance, so you don't see the full cost.
Yeah, like an ACL tear in veterinary medicine for like a larger dog, an ACL tear is probably going to run you like $3,000 to $4,000, maybe more depending upon if you have to do multiple spots. But in humans, it probably would be easily over $12,000. So,
but you have health insurance that covers a vast majority, if not all of it, depending upon your insurance provider and where you're at. So that's another big part too.
So what other things with pregnancy have you noticed that affect your job?
Yes, we should get back on track.
We always get off track.
It's okay.
We see each other once a week.
I mean, I will say one of the things that I know a lot of people still forget about is like the Bordetella vaccine.
Oh yeah.
I didn't even know that until you said it. I was like,
I was already out.
I already had a kid.
Well, and I had learned about it after another doctor of mine a couple years ago had been pregnant, which was after both of you had already had your kids, so it didn't really matter. But the Bordetella vaccine, at least the intranasal version, and I believe
they did that so many
oral
times.
version.
Oh my god, I couldn't even tell you.
Yeah, which I mean, it sounds like your kids are fine.
Yeah,
so, but
it worked out well for us.
I think ultimately it's like if you like end up inhaling a lot of it, can end up being the overall cause. Which most of the time you're not sticking your nose right in front of your patient's nose after giving.
Nope.
So realistically, the risk overall is probably on the more minimal side, but apparently it does cause respiratory like problems. So like. Or at least it can cause that. So ultimately, they say don't.
Anesthesia that we use can cause respiratory, or at least I heard it was respiratory.
Yep. Yes, respiratory depression. It depresses the development of their respiratory system, and that goes for all inhalant anesthesia types that are used on like animals. So that means isoflurane, sevoflurane, all of them. When it comes to inhalant anesthesia for humans, I believe a lot of times they end up using isoflurane as well. So I think you end up dealing with like the same thing there. But by the time they're putting you under anesthesia and you're pregnant, they're usually saying
there's
your
a
baby
greater
needs to
risk.
come out. So
there's a greater risk involved.
Yeah.
There's a reason.
I mean, there is that. There are other like inhalant medications, like laughing gas that we talked about. I think that obviously, like, they know it crosses the placental barrier, but it doesn't actually affect your baby, so they don't have any issues with that. But yeah, no, that X-rays. I will say people at one of my locations are way more conscious about where I'm standing when they're taking X-rays than the other location.
Good for you.
Granted, they still generally make sure I'm far enough away, but the one location's like, no, you need to be behind something. Like, you need to be behind a wall, you need to be behind a door, like, even though dental X-rays, like, we can take them, and the rules for it is that you have to be at least 6 feet away. They're like, I'll be across the room, which is probably like at least 30 feet, and they're like, you still need to be blocked. And I'm like, okay.
I mean,
I'll block myself. That's cool.
They're just looking out for you.
Which is really great, because I know, especially, again, like you guys said, you guys didn't really have that experience.
If it wasn't us, it was nobody.
Yeah.
We had to look out for each other.
Yeah.
Otherwise, nothing would happen.
Yeah. And we had to go, like, far, and this was a tiny ass clinic, like with really tiny narrow ways to walk with our huge bellies to get through. So even though the x-ray, whether it was the dental or the actual x-ray, we still had to like hike it like 10 feet to get behind the wall that we needed to. And half the time we weren't even able to get there fast enough, and they would just shoot it.
Yeah, and see, they'll like specifically wait for me to get behind. Like,
nobody cared. Everybody was just mad that we weren't doing any x-rays, and then that was
which is so surgeries.
Wrong. I mean, I do understand people at that clinic being frustrated at the time that like there were so many people pregnant.
That was unplanned, okay?
Yeah.
I did not mean to start a trend.
I needed the job and didn't tell him I was pregnant until after I was hired.
And then I happened to be, and then there was another person, and then another person.
Yeah.
But it's just, one of those things, like, I mean, I can understand. Like, if I had been working there at the time, because I wasn't, this was after I had left the location, really, that everybody came out as, like, pregnant. And, like, if I had been there, I would have probably been like, dang, like, I just feel like I'm doing so much stuff because the pregnant people can't.
Well,
but then at the same time, I would not have been like, oh, but the pregnant people should still be doing these things. Like, no.
We helped out
we
as
weren't
much
doing
as we
anything. That's what it was.
We worked ourselves to the bone.
We did everything we possibly could.
Now,
that's
see, like,
and there were even times where we were asked to do things
supposed to do. Yeah.
Like surgery.
Although I would say, when I mean us,
Yeah, but in general, I mean, it was a crappy situation.
It was. It really was.
You guys were just really, unfortunately, with people who did not care.
Including a mom who claimed that they did, but then didn't. And
she did not.
No.
I think that one,
it was just at face value.
Yeah. I mean, I know, like, again, and I've said it to both of you before, like, I understand if you were you as a person were willing to take some risks with your own pregnancy, but that doesn't mean that you get to dictate if other people take those same risks.
Yep.
Because we were not willing. We were forced.
Yeah. Like, because, I mean, again, like, I've talked about it with, like, a couple different people.
And that should go for any workplace.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just because one person's willing to take a risk doesn't mean that somebody else should.
Yep.
Because, like, I said to a coworker at one point, because I was like, man, I really wish I could eat sushi, because my favorite types of sushi are raw sushi, so cannot be doing that right now. That's a big risk. Yep. And she was like, well, I did it in my pregnancy. And I'm like, yeah, but
good for you.
Also, like, first of all, I went through IVF. Like,
you're already an increased risk.
I paid to be pregnant, and I'm at a higher risk at first for some things as well. So, like, I don't feel comfortable taking that risk. That's my choice. If I had been somebody who could get pregnant naturally with their spouse and everything like that, like, maybe I would feel more comfortable taking those risks, because then I'd be able to be like, oh yeah, like, if something happens and it goes wrong, it's not like I can't get pregnant again, you know?
Right.
Like, maybe I would have felt more comfortable.
That's why my first pregnancy, like, there's non-alcoholic beer that you can drink. I didn't do that my first pregnancy at all because of Katsuki's medical issue. Yeah. I didn't do it because it was too, for me, yes, there was no risk, but for me, I didn't want to do anything that could even, like, potentially jeopardize it. My second pregnancy, well,
and I know now they're coming out and saying, like, even pregnant people shouldn't drink the non-alcoholic beers, or at least they shouldn't have more than maybe one, because there's still a potential for a higher percentage of alcohol being in there, than more so than, like, your normal fruit juice. But if you drink those, like, 0.0 ones, or the ones that, like, literally say that there's 0% alcohol, even though there's a chance that they could still be 0.05% alcohol, that's less than your juice will usually have in terms of alcohol. So but, like, also things change. Science changes. Like, we learn new things all the time.
Like, before they used to tell you that smoking was good for you.
Yeah.
Look at where we are now.
Leaps and bounds.
Leaps and bounds.
Well, and, like, I know my cousin smoked weed probably throughout her entire pregnancy. Is that recommended at this point?
Absolutely not.
No. But did people necessarily know that those were going to be a problem before? No.
But I mean, also, weed was kind of a taboo thing. whereas now it's more widely accepted. So the, idea of these things during that part of your life could be more explored,
So everything is always adapting, no matter what.
Yeah. I mean, oh gosh, I saw it I can't even remember what, was it, thalidomide there was a medication back in like the 80s or something that, or something, maybe it was before that came out, and it was like this revolutionary medication because it stopped women from experiencing like morning sickness in pregnancy, and then they made it all the way through pregnancy, and the babies were born with severe defects. Missing limbs, shortened limbs, like things like that. But at the time, there really wasn't ultrasound to monitor those things, so nobody knew that these defects were happening until the babies were born. And ultimately, like, they came back and were like, it's this this is the medication, and so then it got banned for pregnant women. At the very least, I don't remember if they use it for other causes, but. I think I read something that they might still use it for like cancer patients, just because of the nausea with that.
Yeah.
But I mean, at that point, there's a much greater situation going on, and if you're going through cancer treatment, the likelihood of you being pregnant, I feel like, is very slim.
Well, and even if you do happen to be, there's quite oftentimes a conversation if you're pregnant and have cancer at the same time that they talk about. Do you really continue this pregnancy or not? Like, they have that conversation with you.
Yeah, there's a lot more to consider there.
Yeah.
So,
but, like, there's always new changes in, like, the medicine and new things that come out. Like, when you guys were pregnant, Librela and Silencia didn't exist. Both are arthritis medications for dogs and cats. And those arthritis medications are something that if I was to accidentally poke myself with them, like, that could cause fetus deletus there, Like, it could literally cause a spontaneous abortion, and it could happen very rapidly after that.
Yeah.
But those didn't exist when you guys were pregnant.
Yeah, I'm glad.
So you didn't have to worry about being around that. I still see patients that are getting those injections. I just don't handle the medication.
No, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole.
I don't hold the patient while they're injecting in case the patient
just don't do it. Just be like, this is what they need. Someone do it.
I literally that's what the whole hospital has agreed to do with me. I'll be like, all right, I brought the vial out because I feel comfortable touching the closed vial, but I'll bring the vial out and I'll be like, this is how much they need. You guys draw it up. You inject it.
Yep.
Like,
Smart.
I do not
I feel like that's a very reasonable situation.
Yeah. Well, and I've literally, like, I have made the joke with them, like, I'd like to keep my baby. So, I mean, they all understand.
You kind of really wanted her a lot.
Yeah, I
did.
Enough to pay thousands of dollars. Even with the benefit from my work.
I would still, even after, if you go back, still fight for being a mom, because it doesn't go away.
It doesn't
just
go
because
away.
you have a baby.
No.
Because I'll tell you the story that I had. I may have talked about it when we were talking about Fed's Best, but I was still breastfeeding Deku, and one of the higher ups came in as the doctor for today. So, what was her title? The boss of all?
Was it the director of veterinary, or doctor of veterinary quality, the DVQ?
The girl with the short hair with all the tattoos.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I just don't want to say her name to be offensive.
Yeah.
But, so, I still couldn't do surgery because no one had trained me yet. And I had been begging since I got back to do surgery. Well, she tried to work with me to do surgery notes that day, which make no sense for me to do these things.
Yeah, they make no sense until you are trained in surgery, and then at that point, like, having somebody teach you where to plug every information in is really helpful, instead of just shoving information at you and going, yeah, you can do it.
Yep. So I was with her and one of the other people and doing these things, and I was trying to get all this stuff, and everyone knows at that clinic that I take the latest lunch because I pump in the morning, and then I don't want to go take the earliest lunch because then there's no point in me pumping then, and I would still have to take another break. I would have to take a break later anyway, so I take the latest lunch. So, and everyone knows this. And so I'm trying to push through and get through these, like, papers and stuff, and I get through, and I'm waiting for Mia to come back to take over.
The next person.
Yeah. And I give the layout to Mia, like, this is what I've done, this is what's going on, can you do this? You know? And she was on surgery. So she, by all means, could do the surgery notes. Well, was it Young? Is that her name? She wouldn't let me go to lunch. Wouldn't let me go. And it's like almost 1:45 now. And she comes back and says, Amy, why haven't you done this? I'm like, I already told you that I told Mia to do this. She knows what needs to be done. I need to go to lunch. She says, well, you need to finish what you're doing and not just hand it off. And I straight up looked at her. I need to go on my break because I am in physical pain now.
Yeah.
And she was well aware I already had a kid. She was well aware that I needed to pump.
It wasn't a new situation.
Mia, thank God, one of the times, stood up and said, go clock out. I will take care of this. So the one time that she wasn't a bitch to me, stood up for me so I could go, one, have my break, and two, so I could pump. I pumped so much milk, it was insane. And I went straight and complained to our boss and the person above her.
Yeah.
She got in a shit ton of trouble.
Yeah.
She's like, I didn't know you said that. I was like, I told you at the beginning.
I heard you. I remember that day. I heard you.
She was there when I pumped at 9. She was there.
Yeah, it wasn't like it was a big surprise.
And it was, everyone knows this. I go at the most inopportune times. I never leave anything that's open. I never leave like a crap ton of cleaning or anything when I go on these breaks. Never. I leave everything or let someone know what I'm doing or where I've left off. I don't like just leave abruptly to do it.
No.
Well, and sometimes
you were very responsible about it.
Like here coming from like the other side of it, like it is actually sometimes super annoying to me when people don't go on lunch at their scheduled time just because they need to complete something else. Because ultimately what that does, like say you're the person taking your lunch at noon and you have plans for people to go to lunch at 1. Well, now the person at 1 has to go late because we can't just be without people. So now they have to go to lunch late because somebody or the person at noon went late because they had to get this one thing done. And like there are sometimes where I'm like, okay, if it's going to take you like a minute or two, finish it. Like that's fine. Or if like, hey, like you've got, I've had cases where like a surgery patient is like coming to pick up and somebody needs to finish their notes because they'll be picking up while that person's on lunch. Makes sense. That's fine.
But when it's just willy-nilly.
I had girls that I worked with that I would yell at to go to lunch. And when I say yell, I'm not like being like screaming at them. I mean like, no, you have to go. You have to go now. Because they would always like, if they got finished with all their surgeries before lunch, they'd be like, well, I just want to be done with all my cleaning and then before I go to lunch. And I'm like, no, you need to go to lunch. You can come back and clean stuff when you're done with lunch.
Because oftentimes you'd go to lunch and come back and then it would be like rooms are starting. So you needed people back in time to do things like rooms. And cleaning, while yes, important, if you get like the, basics prepped, you can do that later.
Well, and like also in some of those cases, I'm like, you can go to lunch and I have time. I can help clean some of this stuff up from surgery so that you can be, when you come back from lunch, maybe there's less to do. Like maybe, there's enough times
it's one thing if it's notes. It's another if it's cleaning. Notes, don't touch. Cleaning,
and there'd be
if there's
times
nothing
too.
to do, someone will do it. I'm not saying just like dump and leave. You
brought
stuff.
up one of my other pet peeves. Sometimes they would clean before they would do their notes, and I'm like, no, do your notes. The notes are more important to get done. Cleaning can happen at closing if we need it to. Like it can happen 6 hours from now if we have to. It is what it is. We will deal with it. But get this part done, or go on your dang lunch.
Yeah.
Anytime that doctor came back, though, I refused to work with her.
Yeah.
I was like, nope.
No, that makes sense.
She even came in, I think it was only the other time, she came in, like, so when are your pumping times? And I'm like, this and this, but I'm not working with you. Mm-hmm. I had someone else work with her because I
think it was me.
Yeah, I did. That's true. Sorry, thank you.
I mean, I wasn't pumping, so...
Yeah.
Based on the name you said, they're no longer with the practice. So
I figured they weren't. I was just...
No, they're not.
I couldn't work.
Left.
I'm not saying they're not a good doctor. I just...
They did not get along well with you.
No, I mean, she's a mom, and she should understand that. It's just like... You can't do... I was in physical pain. I've never had, like, my boobs actually be in pain from not pumping.
Well, and even if you weren't in pain, it doesn't matter.
It's
a legal protected right.
Yep.
Like, you have
She
they
literally
have to
was
accommodate.
breaking the law.
Yep.
That's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
She's lucky I didn't sue is basically all it was.
Because if you had, you would have won.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
You
it wasn't worth it. I just needed an apology, and I got it. And I basically told her, like, what did I say? That's what I said. I said, I hope that when Bakken comes back and has to do this, you do not do the same thing to her. Because we got Bakken, we had Kennedy, we had Taylor, all of those people. It's like, you have a bunch of moms in here that are going to be pregnant and have kids and may have to do this. I hope that you have learned from this experience.
I'm being told that I must aggressively keep petting her.
Oh, she wants
to, like,
food.
take care of, to not do it, basically.
Yeah, fighting for your right as a mom is hard. It's because...
But that's why there's legal protected rights.
Yes, there is. But even with that...
they have to exist, but that is why.
Yeah, even with that, it's hard because, like... You get turned down for positions because of the fact that you're a mom. So they think that you're not going to be available as much. Even people who have kids, like, no, I will make things work. Just give me a shot.
What's it like working now at your new job? Nico.
Naruto.
I didn't even do my own kid. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I've done him too. Where I've name dropped on accident plenty of times.
I'm doing a terrible job now.
It's okay. But, no, it works out well because I bake in the morning at a local coffee shop, so I am done super early. So often days, I get home before he's even awake. Mm-hmm. So then that works out well. And then on weekends, I get done at noon, but then either I go pick him up from the babysitter, whoever's babysitting him that day, or days like today, Nick will bring him down. Yeah. And then, he'll stop by and say hi. And then I met them up at the bookstore where he was playing with trains.
Nice.
Yeah, I got a text, and it was, he is Stinky, we're playing with trains. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to go find a stinky child playing with trains. And that's exactly what we did. And then we came home and played in the snow and figured out how to do snow angels. But no, it works out pretty well. Everybody likes him. All of my coworkers like him. He's super cute. But, I mean, a lot of the people I work with are younger.
Yeah.
So I think there's like 2 people besides the owner that are like close-ish to my age. Everybody else is high school or college. Mainly college. There's one high schooler, but... Yeah. Yeah, there's only 2 people that I can think of that are close to my age, which is fine. We get along very well.
Being this part-time versus, like, the full-time stuff?
I do. Full-time, I would come home and I would sleep for a day and be hardly functional. And then I'd have, because I worked the 12-hour, or like the 10-hour shifts. Yeah. I considered it like 11 to 12 hours because of the drive. Yep. Especially with the drive home, because I drove half an hour to get there.
Even without the drive, like at times too, like, we'd get out late and things like that.
Like the heavy surgery days, I wouldn't get out until 8 and I would have showed up at like 7. Yep. And then I'm supposed to go home, figure out dinner, hang out with my family, relax before, and put a kid to bed before going back to work the next morning. Yeah. And there was no feasible way to get it all done. Yep. And then even when we got out early, because we closed at 6, if we got out, at like 6:37, there's still that half-hour drive home, picking up a kid, making dinner, eating dinner, calming down and getting ready for bed, and then getting to bed. Mm-hmm. My kid went to bed so late, not because I wanted him to, but just because schedules made it impossible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because he had to have moments too
to relax,
to
and
decompress.
We all
with
wanted
you,
to, see each other.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, no, I like it a lot better because even if I were to start closing for some reason, which doesn't really work with the people who help out with my childcare,
right?
That schedule doesn't work for them.
Yep.
But even if that was to be a thing, with the fact that we close at the time that we do, which I think is 6, usually you don't get out past 6:30, but I'm still just 5 minutes away.
Yeah.
Depending upon lights, it takes me 5 minutes to drive there.
That does make a difference.
Mm-hmm. It makes a huge difference because 6:35 is so different than 7, 7:30, or 8.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's insanely different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But no, I like the new job a lot. It makes more sense as a parent. While I didn't mind doing my old job, I guess it wasn't always fun and games. It's a hard, stressful job.
I don't think any job is probably ever all fun and games.
Yeah. But you know what I mean. It was definitely a much more stressful job and a much more stressful situation, but I took pride in the work that I did.
Yeah.
It wasn't feasible as a mom. Mm-hmm. It just didn't work. It was not feasible.
Mm-hmm. I am actually always amazed how many people who are veterinarians or even human doctors manage to
you sacrifice time with your child. Mm-hmm. That's the ultimate portion of it, is you have to sacrifice something. And whether it be your career for a little bit while your child is growing or, some time with your kid, there's some part of a sacrifice that happens.
Like mine.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't want to say sacrificed,
but
I compromised
yeah.
my career to be a stay-at-home mom because daycare sucks. Mm-hmm. And it cost us an entire different mortgage to just have our kids in daycare. And we talked about it a year and a half ago, almost 2 years actually. Mm-hmm. We sat down and I had been thinking about it for a while. My paycheck was just basically going to daycare. Mm-hmm. That was all it was going to. We weren't saving it. None of it was being kept with us.
You didn't get any of it.
I got nothing.
Basically paying for the child care to go to work.
I mean, we're still living paycheck to paycheck to, just pay the daycare. Mm-hmm. And at that point, it was more feasible for me to leave my job, which, again, I never intended on quitting, at any point. Mm-hmm. That was not even crossed my mind. But it was more feasible for our financial situation, our family, for one of us to stay home. Mm-hmm. And because my partner's the breadwinner, it made more sense for me to leave. So now I'm a stay-at-home mom, which I qualify as a job because...
It is.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. But...
if you think about it, you pay other people to do the exact same stuff, and you pay them an arm and a leg. Mm-hmm. To do childcare and, house care and all that kind of stuff. You pay them good money to do that. Mm-hmm. And you're doing it because you love your family.
Mm-hmm. True. Do I like being a stay-at-home mom? Not really.
I didn't mind it for the couple months that I got to do it.
But I think that's just because that's my personality.
Yeah.
I'm more of I had all this time that I went to my college to get my degrees and did all this stuff, and I like being hands-on and working and doing all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And now it feels like I'm not doing anything, which I know that that's not the case at all, but that's the way my brain is working.
You're doing so much, though. And
I know, when I'm, when they're older and in school, I will miss this. Mm-hmm. But right now, I'm more I miss my job. Mm-hmm. And I miss working. Because I want to be able to contribute to what's happening in my house. I know that is what I am doing. I'm well aware.
But you feel like you want to contribute more.
More. Because...
You want to validate your own work.
Right. I don't get to, like, even just coming here once a week is, like, my time out of the house. I'm a homebody, so it's hard to even get me out of the house in general. But I would like to have, like, more, like, adult conversations and not the same conversation of, please get dressed. Please put your pull-up on. Come here so I can clean up. You know?
Yep.
Keep your pants on.
Keep your pants on. Quit putting your hand down your pants. You know? Yeah. Having more adult conversations.
Please draw on your paper, not the table.
Exactly. Or the walls. Just something like that. And, you know, my partner's great. But I don't blame him in the fact when he comes home from work, who's like that, he's too tired, you know, to sometimes have, like, those kind of conversations or, you know, interact with us. And I'm too tired to do that at that point because I've been dealing with kids all day.
Yeah.
You know, so at the end of the day, we're both just exhausted. We want to hang out and spend time together, but we can't because we're just tired. You know,
tired is a real thing. Why do you think I fall asleep every night when I finally get to watch TV?
Right.
Well, and you know, sometimes too you can get like peopled out or touched out, and that can even happen with your kids.
I get overstimulated so quick with my kids, and especially on Thursdays when they have their own like appointments and stuff, it's like an all-day thing, and it's a hassle. And I know both of us are doing the best we can. Yes, we could do better, but I can't say, like, being a stay-at-home mom is for a special kind of person. It really is. And I'm doing the best I can. I know I can do better, but I don't think that this was ever something that I considered doing, like, ever. So.
See, for me, I guess I kind of do both because since I work before my family is for the most part up, I'm working but also being kind of a stay-at-home mom because the only days that I ever need help is like Saturday or Sunday. And if it is help, it's just somebody sitting here hanging out while my kid sleeps until I get home, usually for 15 minutes. Yeah. Just the time change between Nick going to work and me coming home. Right. That's it.
Right.
And sometimes they're literally only here while Nick's getting ready and then I get home before he even leaves. That has happened.
Yeah, Tyler. 2 days a week was more than our mortgage for a month. Yeah. It was insane. And, you know, we've talked about it, like, as soon as both Katsuki and Deku are in school, we're, like, reassessing, like, what we're going to do. Because at that point, someone's going to have to drive them to and from school. And, you know, I could go back to work, but at that point, it's like, do I do, like, what you're doing? Something even downtown Lakeville where I can be part-time and then be available to drop my kids off at their school and then be able to pick them up, you know?
Honestly, I will say, like, that is one of the things that really does suck about veterinary medicine is that it is really hard in a lot of cases to work, like say your kids have to be at school at, 8:30 and then you have to pick them up by, like, 3.
Yep.
It's really hard to work in that middle time frame.
Yeah.
Most businesses don't want you to work just in that middle space. They would rather you work from, like 7, 8 all the way to 5, or more depending.
Right.
Because otherwise then they need to staff more people.
Yeah.
And you're just like this weird overlap in the middle. Yeah. So that is one of the things that I will say that does suck. Like, I feel like people probably, like, working for Starbucks, probably you could be a little more flexible in timeline, than maybe that.
Yeah.
So
that's where the reassessment gets, because once the kids are in school, there's a chance I could go back to work, and, like, even if it's part-time, but that would have to be, like, the time period that I would have to go back to work. And then you think, is there a point in doing that then? Because if we're the case where I'm not going to find a job where I can hit that time period and stuff, because quite frankly, I want to drive my kids to school and pick them up. Not that there's anything wrong with the bus, but...
For me, his school is going to be, it's within walking distance.
Yeah.
We're 2 blocks away.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, they're long blocks, but still, we're 2 blocks away. Yeah. You cross one road.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be dumb not to walk him.
Yeah.
In the, on the nice months.
Or
like this winter when there was
middle school you could walk to, but not their elementary school.
Well, his elementary school is literally down the road. Yep. High school and middle school, we're gonna have to either drop off and do a bus, but no, middle or elementary school, walking distance. It's literally right there.
Growing up, I was never close enough to any of my schools to, like, walk to them.
I don't think I'd send him on my own. On his own, I would walk with him, but still, you know.
Yeah.
I did when I was, like, in middle school, like, throughout the summer. I would, like, sometimes have to hike to, like, or bike to our high school, and, like, it wasn't that far to be able to do that. But I was also older at that point anyway, and I didn't bike to my middle school because my middle school was too far down the road. So, like, it was just not, like, it would not have been fun. Let me put it that way. So, I mean, I did take buses, but my parents did have me in daycare before and after school for a bit, which at the time they could both afford because, one, this was, you know, a while ago, and two, because they were both engineers that made a lot of money, so, like, they could afford to do it.
Yep.
I still heard about how expensive childcare was back even then, but they could afford to do that. So, like, my daycare would literally, like, either, like, drop us off at a spot where the bus could pick us up to go to school at times when I was in elementary school, or they would drive us to the elementary school, pick us up from the elementary school, because it was my brother too went to the same schools, obviously.
So, one fun story about young Amy.
Young Amy.
I finished kindergarten, but I was too dumb in English, so I had to go to summer school and take English twice in a normal day, but no one told me about my second English class. So the first day I had normal classes. The next day they decided I would have to take the English lesson twice. Once in the morning and once again for, like, repetition to understand what was going on. No one told me on the second day that I had to do this. So I'm 5. Okay. I go out of this school and don't see the daycare van to pick me up. I'm like, Instead of going logically back into the school to wait, I walked 5 miles by myself back to the daycare along major highways.
Oh no.
I made it back.
Oh no.
And I showed up at the playground, and the daycare person who was there was pissed and, like, screaming and yelling at me.
And you're like,
and I'm like, ah. And
but you're 5, like, you don't really
I had no idea. I went.
Your logic was, I need to be at this place. Let's
and
get
I went.
there.
Thank God my photographic memory got me back to there. No creepers like came and abducted me. And I went back there, and by the time I got there, within 2 minutes, my mom was there, and she said, like, she was pissed. She was very angry. I never rode the bus again in elementary school because of that incident. And the sad part is, my mom told me later, is that neither the daycare nor the school knew where I was.
That's bad.
And they didn't tell my mom until I got to the daycare center. So the daycare people had already picked up at that point, at the end of the day.
That
didn't tell them that I was there, and the school did not tell my mom that I didn't show up for my second class of English.
That's negligence on both sides.
That is
because
why
something bad could have happened to you, and she would have no idea.
Right. That's why I didn't go to ride the bus till middle school.
Like, so, you know, you could have been actually missing. Like,
I could have been
truly
actively
gone,
missing. Abducted.
Gone. Yeah. And it would have been a very late time frame for her to contact authorities if nobody told them.
Yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, you know, little children go missing. You know, like, ideally, you try to find them within an hour or 2.
Hours.
Hours.
You want to get them as fast as possible, because the longer you wait, the harder it is to get them back.
Well, I mean, realistically, I would think that goes for pretty much anything. Like, the longer you wait, the harder it's going to be to find, you know, something. Because, like,
the first 24 hours is the most important for a missing person.
And this was 5 miles.
Yeah.
That's an hour.
Yeah.
Hour or 2. I don't remember, but I got there. Everyone was angry. I was crying because people were yelling at me and I had no idea
Nobody
what was
had
going
reason to yell at you. You were 5 and you did what you thought was right. But the fact that none of the adults in that situation had the,
thought to notify my parents.
The thought to notify your parents. The thought to tell you, hey, you're going to hang out here. Or anything,
Yeah.
You kind of got to keep
a lot of people got in a lot of trouble.
I mean, that makes sense because, like, realistically, by, like, the
If I was your
busing...
mom,
Now,
I would've
granted,
raised
There
hell.
should have been, like, a para by your busing.
So
there
this
should have
was
been a person
1990. How old was I? 1998.
Mm-hmm.
So that would have been me 5. And now, mind you, I looked like I was like 7 or 8 years old just from my height. So I think what saved me in that situation
Was how tall you were.
was how tall I was. Because a normal 5-year-old is like this big.
Yeah.
I was like this big. So I could have
Yeah.
easily passed for like a middle schooler if I really
Yeah.
wanted to. So that probably saved my butt. But yeah.
But yeah, even still, like, I mean, even, like, back when I was in elementary school, like, there was always, like, a para that stood out by the bus, and they stayed for a while after the buses left to make sure that, like, everybody, was on the bus. If somebody missed the bus, that they were, like, there, by that. Because obviously, like, back when we were all younger, it wasn't common for schools to have a bunch of cameras. So, but ultimately, like, there should have been a person there to, like, see you and be like, hey, where are you supposed to be? And then after that, like, your teacher for the class should have been, like, even if it was like a multiple person class, then there should have been like a roll call.
Well, that was the thing. It was my actual kindergarten teacher. So I passed her class and she was my summer school teacher.
Yeah.
And she didn't know I was there.
That sucks too, because it's like, then, like, that's the first person who should have been calling your parents.
Yeah, looking out for you.
Because she should, even if she wasn't the one who physically called your parents, like, it could have been calling up the principal, being like,
Oh,
hey,
I had an older kid after that point from the
She's
daycare who would walk me to my second class. I don't remember
sure
them,
you
but there
get-
was always one of them that would
Yeah.
walk me to my second
Just make
class
sure you
to
got
make sure
there.
I got there. One time it was the actual teacher who came to get me.
Yeah.
She's like, you're coming to class. I was like, I know.
I guess I can understand, though, why, like, the daycare wouldn't really take much responsibility, because, like, if they weren't supposed to pick you up, then, like...
Well, they were. It's just...
But if they knew that they weren't supposed to pick you up on that day and be looking for you, then ultimately, like, it's really on the school at that point. Like, the school should have been the one keeping track with your belongings.
I think they knew I
where
was
you were at.
supposed to be there.
But, like,
I don't know
it's
the
not
su-
like your...
I don't know
your
the
daycares should be calling up your school being like, is she actually in
Right,
the class?
right.
Like, the daycare just at this point knows, like, hey, she's not supposed
Well,
to be
yeah,
on the
because
bus
my
today, she's
mom
supposed to be
dropped
somebody
me
at
off.
school.
The daycare picked me up. So for all they know, I didn't go to school that day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was just... I mean, I can also still understand being upset at the daycare, too.
Oh,
but,
she was livid.
like, at the
Yeah.
same time, ultimately, the people's at fault, the people's, the ones at fault, really the
Is the
school,
school.
because the school should have been keeping track of where the children were.
Yep. And I don't blame the
So.
people getting mad at me.
No.
I mean,
They were probably
They were
scared.
stressed and scared.
Stressed.
Yeah, it was
scared.
a stress scary
But
spot.
my mom
Ultimately,
apologized to me later.
Ideally, like,
She's
you
like,
should
I'm
be.
sorry. I'm like, I had no idea what I did.
I just knew I was supposed to be at this spot.
Yeah.
I got
I think
there.
she was more impressed the fact that I remembered my way back for 5 miles than anything else.
Yeah, I'm honestly impressed by that, because I would not have remembered how to
I
get
have
to
a
my daycare.
very, very good photographic memory.
I will say, though, it was a lot more than 5 miles for me to get to my daycare from my elementary school. So if I had walked that, granted it wasn't highways, I would have had to cross highways, but I wouldn't have walked
Yep,
on the
highways.
actual
It was
highway.
a very busy highway. That's what I remember, because I had to walk across one of those bridges.
Oh gosh.
Oh, high ones with... Yep.
There would have been a lot of hills. I would have been a really tired kindergartner. I would have been like, all right, I'm
This
taking
was
a nap
Wisconsin,
halfway.
so there wasn't too many hills.
Yeah.
See, it just weirdly, like, is like where my elementary school was and everything, like, there was a lot of decent, like, hills around there. So, like, and even, like, one of the actual like highways, like county highways that was near my home, like the sidewalk that was to the side of it, because there was a creek over there, had a bunch of like ups and downs in the sidewalk. So it was like, it would have been decent for me to get there. Oh. But I'm impressed that you remembered how to go 5 miles as a 5-year-old to your daycare.
I did. Honestly, again, I think that's the memory and how tall I was is probably the only reason I didn't get abducted. Who knows? You may never have met me then.
I mean, you're here now.
But you're probably the reason why protocols are in place at that school.
Probably. I don't remember what school it was, but probably.
You are most likely the reason new protocols
I'm a trendsetter.
Yeah. Somebody was like, shit, this happened and we got to make sure this doesn't happen to any other kids ever again.
Yeah, 25 years later. Anyway.
They call it the Amy protocol.
The Amy protocol. Or the Amanda protocol, probably.
Oh. I could imagine that.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Code Amy. We got a
Code Amy. We got a wanderer. They ran away.
Yes, we are nerds.
Hi.
We are.
Hi.
He's not surprised.
No.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they're pretty cool, I guess.
Well, anything else?
For thinking that we're cool.
I don't know. What else do we want to talk about working moms? I mean, we touched on issues that we've had, standing up for yourself.
I know my hope before going back to work is, and I've kind of mentioned this before, is that I would love to have a work from home job, because I'd like to still work, because in this economy, I don't know that with Zach's job alone that we could very comfortably make it by, you know? Like, it would be really, 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 really tight. Like, I'd probably be eating ramen every day tight. So, like, you know, I'd like to have a work from home job, but at the same time, like,
I've been finding those are hard to come by.
They are. Mm-hmm. Ones that are legit and not, like, shady.
So many people want to be able to work from home. And even, like, some of the work from home jobs, like, the amount that they offer you for pay is, like, low. Mm-hmm. So, like,
he has eyes only for you. Look at that.
I know he does. That's hilarious.
But, like, I know that even with, like, if you wanted to stay in veterinary medicine, like, a very common work from home option is to work for Pet Poison. Mm-hmm. But Pet Poison, even as, like, a completely, like, credentialed vet tech, it's, like, $15 an hour at most. I could walk to my cub by my house and probably make more than that stocking shelves.
Probably.
Yep.
Also, you have to have a landline, which is
why?
super fun.
No.
Yeah.
Although there are a lot of internet providers right now that are giving out discounts for having a landline included with your internet.
No one uses landlines
anymore.
I know.
Well, apparently
So
you have
cheaper.
to have the landline for the security reasons because, like, your cell phone can be, like, interrupted more than, like, a landline could. So, like, that's apparently the reasoning.
But, like, if you were to do that, a lot of internet providers will give you discounts for having it.
Yeah. I don't even think I don't even know in my apartment, honestly, where there would be a hookup for a landline. I'm not going to lie. Like, I know...
Watch your cup. She might knock it over.
There's nothing in it.
I know where the...
That's fair.
I know where the internet plugs in, and we only have one of those spots. Mm-hmm. But I have no idea where the phone hooks in, to be honest.
Ours is in the same place, our internet and the phone.
I'm sure it probably
we have a phone spot in this house, and it was built in the 70s. Bob,
you must somewhere.
Would there
Mine
be
was
a
built
spot
in the...
for a home or for like a landline in this house, or did it get removed?
Mine was built in the 1920s.
I'm willing to
like,
bet you
DIY.
probably have someone or one somewhere.
But I think it got replaced somewhere.
Even if it got covered, though, the lines are probably still there.
Yeah.
Oh, cat bumping camera. So the lines are probably still there. It would just mean like having to go back and like mess with it. But yeah, not many people have landlines anymore.
Thing of the past.
And if they have landlines, that's what they give the
I
telemarketers.
think she's hungry.
Oh, cat bumping camera again. Little booty bump to the camera.
Girl, stay down.
What
Down.
do we want to talk
Thank
about
you.
next week? It's our last.
It's
mom
our
week.
last month of mom topic until we do another AniMonth.
We did feeding.
Mm-hmm.
We did postpartum, and we did working.
Oh. Good question. Good question.
What if we did something on diapering?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds
Diapers.
good. And I can talk about potty training too.
I'm working on that. It's not going very well.
Sounds good. Let's talk about
Potty
that.
training and
Diapering and
diapers
potty
next
training.
week. Yeah.
Sounds
It's going to
good.
be a lot of bathroom talk.
We've talked about the ins. Now we're going to talk about the
outs.
outs. We started the month with ins. We're ending the month with outs.
That might actually be what we have to have the title be.
We started with
Time
ins.
for the outs.
Time for the outs. That sounds great. I think that's a
I
great
We spent the
one.
whole
Appreciate
month digesting, and now we're ready to just
And seeing
pop
as
it
the
out.
fact that we have ones in diapers, you're starting potty training. I have one that is basically potty trained. I would say confidently 95% potty trained.
And I have to learn the whole process.
all of
I mean,
it.
I know how to change a diaper.
Enjoy the diapering while it lasts is all I can say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
I've
Are you
heard that,
hungry?
you know, as much as it can be nasty changing blowout diapers, I've heard
It's
it's more
worse.
annoying dealing with potty training.
It is only because, well, let's not get into it until then.
Yeah.
Let's hold that,
Yeah.
hold my thoughts until then.
Yeah.
But anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Again, don't forget we do have a suggestion box in our about section, and we have an email. So send us emails if you have suggestions as
Have you
well.
been checking the email? I have not.
Not in the most recent days, but we do check that on occasion.
Weekly.
Probably
yeah.
weekly, but we
Probably
haven't
weekly.
gotten anything, so we haven't checked it very much.
Someone new is following us.
Yeah, that happened today while we were streaming.
Based on that, it looks like that might be my mother-in-law. Nope, nothing new.
Nothing new. And also because of the fact that our videos kind of go away after a week, and we learn this too late to save some of them, our videos are getting updated to YouTube, to a channel under the same name. It's also linked, so that you can access them past the week point. So if you missed an episode and you wanted to watch it, it's there.
Or even just turn us on as background noise.
Yeah, that's okay.
I don't know. Do some cleaning. Listen to us in the background.
Talk about
We're
bees. And
We talk about random shit anyway.
Yeah,
yes,
bees.
exactly.
Bees.
Bees!
And cats.
Oh yes, you have to
and
see Amy's bees.
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 And random child things. So,
So,
Yeah.
all right, cool.
Alright.
We'll talk about poop next week.
And pee.
And pee.
yeah.
Speaking of which, I have to go.
All right.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.